Praises to our Savior who granted us the freedom. Allegiance to the hero who fought along the gather. Glory will rise and never to fall. Hearing a nation flowing with milk and honey. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Amazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our needs, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God be the watchman of this nation. Amazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our needs, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God be the watchman of this nation. Hello, please.
What is the municipality that recognized our struggle and our state and so on?
Oh, I'm there now. That's my city.
Okay. Okay.
We are 25 minutes away from Boston. That's my city.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
Ndangam, welcome. And I think Mr. Fu is just being a little bit modest. He's not only there, but he was the architect behind all the efforts for the city of Lowell to recognize Amazonia.
Thank you. We know. I'm trying to see how the municipality is related to Boston. Okay.
That's the position. Thanks for coming.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Over to you.
Hello and welcome to African Hour. My name is Fru Ndangam, your host. Today is May 2nd, 2021. History is based on record of the past in arts, painting, and oral, and in writings from a unique viewpoint or angle. Each point of view should be complementary to create a true and comprehensive account of what really happened in the past. If there is one person whose life spans 5 generations of our struggle for independence, that person is my honorary guest for today. He is a living embodiment of the silent generation of 1945, the baby boomers, Generation X, the millennials stroke Generation Y, the boomers stroke Generation Z, and the current generation Alpha. Great-grandpa Ndangam is a living Wikipedia of the British Southern Cameroon, today Amazonia. It is out of humility and adoration that I welcome our father, mentor, and author of Seated at Dawn, the aborted decolonization of the UN Trust Territory of the British Southern Cameroons. Papa Augustine Ndangam, National Chairman of SCAPO. Papa, you are welcome on African Hour.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Kimbe.
My name is Fru Kimbe, and you are watching a special edition of African Hour. And African Hour is humbled by the presence of Papa Augustine Ndangam, the National Chairman of SCAPO. And Papa is a giant, not only a giant, but I would say, in my own words, one of the fathers of our struggle, that we have an opportunity for him to make the records straight. There is a lot that Pa has to share. So again, Pa, before we took a break, I asked you because you brought the legal aspect of our struggle, that you have talked to the elected president of French Cameroon, Dr. Camto, President Camto, as a lawyer himself, asked him to bring the legal documents that we had an agreement with them joining that we are part of their country, and they have yet to provide such documents or treaty. So, and it is my understanding that you also uh, file a lawsuit against La République at the African Court in Banjul. Correct me if my records are wrong, Pa, and set the
No, they are
records
not wrong.
straight.
They
So,
are not wrong. And thank you for asking that question. But when we started talking, I think what I've said about writing or Scapo writing to the government of the La Republique, to President Biya, and not only to the government but to the opposition, Dr. Kamto, is correct. We did not think. Uh, we have not heard from President Biya. We did not hear from him, and we wrote to the opposition party, which contested the last presidential election in that country and claimed victory. We've not heard from government. We've not heard from the opposition. But and thank you for raising the matter of our cases in Banjul. When I talked earlier, I was talking about marginalization and trying to say that that is not the problem. Before I talk about the Banjul case, if marginalization is not the problem in Cameroon, what is the problem? If you allow me, let me go back and state the other side of the coin. If it is not marginalization, what is it? Uh, because to criticize that, this marginalization is what is promoted by government so as to make our matter an internal matter and then generalize it as minority groups. This is what all minorities do. Minorities in this country, all minority, the Bamilikis, the Basa, the Bulus. This is so. If it is not marginalization, what is it? What is the Boya Mountain? What is the main issue that uh, our people are fighting against? But our people are not at war because they picked up arm to solve a particular problem of their country. No, our people are at war defending because they were attacked. They are at war, they are defending themselves and their territory and their country because they were attacked. And what is the root cause of that attack? The root cause, in my view, and what I consider to be factual, verifiable fact, the what I will call Mount Boya, the real issue are two things. Two. One, the fact that British Southern Cameroons, which was a United Nations Trust territory till today, or was not decolonized in the program of the United Nations, decolonizing territories. British Cameroon was not decolonized. That is the first big problem. That is, if I'm starting the problems of Southern Cameroon, and if any of us is clear with why we are in problems, I think we should talk. This is the problem number one. The fact that our country was not decolonized. Other writers have put it that the decolonization was abandoned, unfinished. They are right. The others have put it that it was aborted. They are right. Whichever way we put it, till today, British Southern Cameroons has not been decolonized. That is not to us say we are seceding. No, we are just saying a simple fact. Other trust territories in Africa, take what was Tanzania, what is now Tanzania, take what is now West Africa, take what was what were colonial territory, I mean trust territories.
I think
They
you
have
had
been
Togo.
decolonized and they are sovereign countries.
Mhm.
Republic of Cameroon was a United Nations Trust Territory Category B. It has been decolonized. It's a sovereign country. What we are saying that the first problem in Southern Cameroon that we should be talking about, that we should say it without fear, even if they call you radicals, if they call you secessionists, it doesn't matter. It's a fact, and we should say it without fear. We have not been decolonized. And it is not that we have woke up and seen other people, countries being free, and we want to be free, we want to be decolonized, and we're asking for decolonization. No. What we are saying is that British Cameroons was a United Nations Trust Territory. In all United Nations records, or records of the United Nations at any level, was a United Nations, in distinct United Nations Trust Territory, programmed to be decolonized. And that decolonization has not taken place till now. And that is a problem at the United Nations. That is a problem that Mr. Biya and his government has nothing to do with it. Mr. Biya's problem is that they have annexed us, they want to assimilate, they want to integrate us as, and we resist. Southern Cameroon has the right to resist the annexation. They want to assimilate us, to be integrate us. They have a right to resist, and that resisting has brought in guns. That's a political question that can be solved on the table with discussion. But what the international community is telling us now to go and negotiate with Mr. Biya is not part of the equation. He's not part of the equation. It's
Super,
not
and
Mr.
then
Biya who is going to decolonize us. No, it's the United Nations. So our
that's what.
problem started at the United Nations. This problem will be solved by the United Nations, no matter how long it takes, years, centuries, it will be solved by the United Nations. That is problem number one, decolonization. It's a fact. If we go to the laws, the resolutions of the United Nations, two important resolutions back up our position. And that is why we should speak on this problem without shrinking and without doubting our facts. First is Resolution 1514. Resolution 1514. That is the most important resolution if we are talking of what the problem in Southern Cameroon is. 1514, and particularly paragraphs 3 and 5. In paragraph 3, if you take up what the official reason why the British government, the administering authority, denied us sovereign independence, the official reason given by the administering authority, the UK, was that we were small and poor, and so could not be made a sovereign country because we're small and poor. If you read Resolution 1514, paragraph 3, that is the law, the important law about decolonization. It says that these territories, trust territories, and territories that are not yet independent, there are no reason, no excuses should be given, whether educational or economic or whatever, to hold back their independence. No reason is acceptable. That is the United Nations. The United Nations is the formula by which this whole world has agreed that for us to live peacefully on this globe, we should put down certain principles and follow those principles. And this is one of the resolutions. This is what the resolution on decolonization says. No excuse about whether the people are small or big or what, no. And British Southern Cameroons was a trust territory of the United Nations, programmed, envisioned for this to happen. It means that the British, the obligation they undertook in the Charter of the United Nations, Article 73, the obligations was to look after the interests of the inhabitants of this trust territory as a sacred trust, and to look after their future until they grant them independence. And there were two things about trust territories. One, in Article 76, there were two things. You are preparing the trust territories for self-government or independence. And at the point where we are talking, at the point in 1961, when our independence was to be given, Southern Cameroons had, under the very British people as part of Nigeria, been developed to the point where they were self-governing. And at the point that we left, we were going to join these people, we were a self-governing state with a written constitution. And this is our legal position. The British drew and passed a constitution of independence for us, the Constitution Order in Council. So we are a state. That constitution still stands. It still stands. The parliament in Boya did not ratify this, our joining. They know nothing. If we had joined these people and ratified that we have joined and signed, then that would be something. Then we will not talk of annexation. We will say that we did it conformably with law, our parliament endorsed, but we talk of annexation and we challenge the Cameroon government to produce the legal instrument by which they claim jurisdiction over our own part of the country. And we assert that the international boundary that separates us is still valid till today.
Let me just jump in. Let's assume that I was born in the 80s. When I listen to what you are telling me, I will ask you, if we were an independent state and we had this state recognized boundaries and our own government, parliament that you have mentioned, why did we surrender this to La République if we had our own state before them? And when I look at the pictures, that Ghana that had its independence in 1959, their first president, Nkrumah, came to visit our own prime minister, means we were more established state than they are. Then the question of someone who was born in the 80s or during Ahijo and only hearing what the La République is preaching about us, Cameroon is indivisible. How can you convince me with all this talk that Pa?
Yeah, I can convince him by saying, look, this is what is happening and even sustaining the this is what you may ask the government of the time. The government at the time of these events was, no, first of all, as a separate self-governing state. Our first prime minister was Dr. Inde.
EML in Delhi.
A general election was conducted in 1959. Government, the government, the opposition party of Dr. Foncha
Concha.
won the election, and powers changed in southern Cameroon. And that is another part of our history which is least heard, that there was a general election in a country in Africa and the opposition party won and powers changed hands without you see one thing with our founding prime minister, Dr. Ndele, why is our founding father and great in our history. I think our history will hold him great. He set a pattern for democracy. He was defeated by Foncha narrowly, narrowly. But when Foncha arrived Boya after the election to take over power, Ndele held Foncha's hand and shook him. I had the picture. I had the photograph of Ndele shaking Foncha to congratulate him. That can happen in very little places in Africa. That is a story because we say we are small and poor, that is not told. That a government the first government of Southern Cameroon was defeated in a general election, and the leader of the party that was defeated considered and congratulated his opponent, the person who defeated him.
Wow,
I
that's
treasured
incredible.
that picture,
Yes.
and it was in my house as a treasure. Unfortunately, my house was attacked by the army of the Republic and burnt and destroyed. But this is a fact I know, and I want to say that in our history, in our founding father, Dr. Ndele, will go down as a great statesman.
So he ruled
Now,
for how many
let's go
years,
back.
Pa?
Huh?
He ruled for how many years?
Dr. Ndele.
Yes.
Oh, Dr. Ndele, when we got ourselves separate a separate region in 1954.
Okay. So in
And we were
1959.
self-governing from then till 19 till we joined these people. We were self-governing.
No, I'm
This,
talking
the,
about
the
Ndele's
Republic of
rule
Cameroon got
too.
independence when they had not even had an election, a
No,
general election like
I'm just
us.
asking when how long was Ndele in power? For 4 years, 3 years, or
He was in power until Foncha defeated him in 1959, from
okay.
1954.
Then fast forward, Bia and Ahijo, they've been the two people have
Yeah,
governed those people for more than 60 years.
yeah,
And that is
that's
the
right.
differences
That's right.
between the two. That's the
That's right.
differences between the two people,
Yeah,
which we are
that's one difference.
divisible, which
Yes,
we are really divisible, but they are trying to say we are indivisible. We are not really part of La République, and we will never be part of them because they will
yes.
never
Now,
rise
let's go
to us.
back to the question you raised about how we were a governing state and then just yielded to those things.
Okay,
That is
Pa.
part of the reason why some people who are not read that part of the history of our history blame Foncha. Um, but if you read more of our history, you will not blame Foncha, I think. Foncha stood at the United Nations and said this, that he was the elected prime minister with the majority party in the parliament in Boya. And he is there to say that what the people of Southern Cameroon want is independence. What they want for their country is independence. That is what he has come to tell the United Nations. And if they cannot give independence, they should extend the trusteeship agreement for some time, give them more time, and then at the end of it, let them gain their independence. And if they want to negotiate to join La République, that will come when they will be negotiating as an independent, as sovereign country on equal terms and so on. Foncha said that. And in democracy, he was right. You take in democracy from the majority. You don't, the story there is how did the United Nations, somebody speaking for the majority of people who elected him, tell the United Nations this? How did it come that it was the view of the opposition party, the view of a group of university students from Ibadan, a group of uh, some party that had fled from East Cameroon and come into southern Cameroons,
With the UPC?
UPC, okay.
Mhm.
How was it that it was their own view that prevailed over the
Elected Prime
majority?
Minister.
Yeah,
Thank you,
well,
Pat. Thank you very much for that.
yes.
Because I've had some guests, they come here but blaming others, blaming our leaders in the 60s that they should have done
No.
this, they should have done that. I always say hindsight is 2020. I'm
In
not
any
really in that
case, blaming is crying over spilled milk.
milk. Yes.
The fact is that the thing that we have joined is not correct. Oh, well, there are two things. De facto situation in Cameroon is that we are part of them and they are. But if we come to law and say produce a legal instrument, because that's how states do things. Let us see how we joined you. What did our leaders sign? What did you sign? If people talk of Fumban, Fumban, no, no. What happened in Fumban was annexation. It was annexation outright. And I'm not the one saying it.
Mhm.
There are people who have written it in books and said in Fumban, uh, British Southern Cameroons was annexed. It's true. Ahijo took his constitution, amended it, and imposed it on the people of Southern Cameroons, signed it into law. It was his parliament. It was, first of all, the constitution of his own country that he took and amended. That constitution was never ratified by the people or by the Southern Cameroon parliament. So, um,
Well,
um,
but with that knowledge, Pa, I just want to put you on the spot. We have now leaders who are out here in the diaspora calling themselves president this, president and that. What would you tell them if they go out there to advocate for our liberation? What is the best way? Because listening to you, I mean, it's like I said, you are really a Wikipedia. And listening to these leaders who go out there and president this, we have how many presidents so far? What kind of message is that really healthy for our struggle?
yeah, before I answer that, I said that there were two important resolutions about our decolonization. I mentioned Resolution 1514. I didn't talk about 1608. The significance, the importance of 1608 is in the fact that this is a resolution of the General Assembly that was adopted. 64 countries voted to support our independence. 23 voted against, 10 abstention. But the thing about this resolution is that this was something before the United Nations General Assembly. And in paragraph 5 of this resolution, the General Assembly gave an assignment to the United Kingdom as an administering authority, to Republic of Cameroon, to the government of Southern Cameroons, to work out details if we're going to join the Republic of Cameroon, what detailed arrangements should be made. This was passed, adopted on the 21st of April 1961, that before October, 1st October, these arrangements should have been discussed, put in place for us to join the Republic of Cameroon. This assignment in paragraph 5 of Resolution 1608 to this specific country, Britain in particular, and the Republic of Cameroon, has never been executed. They have never done that work. They abandoned it. And within that time period that was specified by the General Assembly to accomplish the thing, they went and President Ahidjo took upon himself to summon the Fumban Conference and hold a conference in which he took the constitution of his country, amended and imposed it on the people, signed it into law, even while Southern Cameroon was still a United Nations Trust territory. He signed it into law as president of a country covering us, the law covering us. Strange. Many things have happened. And look, that assignment, let me just learn, that assignment has not been accomplished till today. And that very resolution 1608 has not been implemented till today because that important assignment has not been executed. And we have nowhere in the world where the United Nations starts a decolonization of a particular country, a territory, and leaves it halfway, and then another neighboring country takes it and finishes it. No way, no way. This was a United Nations work in progress about our decolonization. They gave an assignment to Republic of Cameroon, to United Kingdom. Whether they went behind and negotiated what, we don't know. We don't know. And then they summon, where does another country intervenes in the progress of work under United Nations hand, under United Nations jurisdiction, and then takes over. Yes.
But strikingly, that country that took over was a trust territory too, equal to the country that they claim to take over.
Yeah, yeah, correct. Yes, yes. So that one you ask, nobody will answer. You see, one thing that a few things have complicated our situation in that, okay, I have said number one problem is the fact that we have not been decolonized. We, Southern Cameroon, is not in the United Nations. It's not a member of the United Nations. But the people who refused the assignment of the General Assembly, who not refused, but did not, I should say, who did not do the assignment that the General Assembly gave, are members of the United Nations. This is the first complication that you have about our matter. Britain is a member and a Security Council member. The Republic of Cameroon is there, a member of the United Nations. So there's no, they speak there for their own interest and claim, and we are not there. This is why our struggle is going to be a long one, because Britain is going to put the foot down that we should remain not decolonized. We've not been decolonized. We don't know what arrangement went between Britain and Republic of Cameroon, that a clear assignment by the General Assembly is specified and nothing is done. The British don't execute that assignment. The Republic of Cameroon not only refuses to execute the General Assembly assignment, but undertakes upon itself to summon a conference and then decide to amend its constitution and then annex uh, trust territory. Look, on the day that Biya was celebrating what he called, was it 50th
50th
anniversary of,
anniversary.
in Boya, there was this journalist, uh, Charles Ndongo, who kept saying that the people of Southern Cameroon, he kept repeating this over and over in his commentary. They don't know, they don't know what took place in Fumba. They don't know what took place in Fumba. Yes, what took place in Fumba remains a secret between the British and Cameroon Republic. We don't know. We don't know what took place. But
am I not confused if you say that? I think I've posed this question to many. Maybe you
please
will
repeat.
put the record
I'll
straight.
answer.
Okay, we were a trust territory to the UN, like French Cameroon.
The same category B.
Right. The UN, as you have mentioned, voted 64% because
64 countries.
64
voted.
countries, that's because there were 100 countries then. That's 64% of the vote when for our independence, right?
Right.
Okay. That means by voting then, it was an overwhelming vote that we have our independence.
Yes.
And by that too, the same vote went for French Cameroon to have their independence, and which they did on 1st of January 1960.
No, that vote in 16, the vote of resolution 1608 has nothing to do with Republic of Cameroon.
No. I'm just saying that
it's a different one.
No, Pa, I'm just saying that these were two trust territories.
Yes.
The French Cameroon, they had their independence because they also voted, and then they took their own vote and had their own independence.
Yes.
But on our own side, they conducted a vote at the UN, and 64%, that's overwhelmingly voted to grant us our independence.
Yes.
Hindsight is 50-50. But with that 64, were we not ripe enough just to declare our independence as French Cameroon also declare its independence? Why did we have to have anyone else, since the United Nations, which was our guarantor, had voted 64% for us to free ourselves and get our independence?
Okay, that's a good question. Let us go back to what that vote meant. What resolution 16 for, we look at that resolution 1608 in its entirety. And this, your listeners should listen here very carefully. The UN resolution granting independence to the Republic of Cameroon is I've forgotten the number, but it's a different resolution.
Yes.
It's a separate resolution of the General Assembly of the United Nations.
Yes.
Yes. It granted independence of French
Cameroon, yes,
to take place on the 1st of
January 1960.
January 1960. Good. And it took place.
Yes.
That it took place. The French flag that used to, as the colonial administration was lowered.
Yes.
And their own flag raised. The Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Dag Hammarskjöld, was present in that ceremony.
Good.
Representing the United Nations.
Yeah.
That is how it should have been done for us. But first of all, When the time came for our own decolonization, our own administering authority, the British, did pushed aside the matter of the trusteeship agreement that they signed with the United Nations about preparing us for independence, like any other trust territory. They brushed it aside and said we were too small and too poor to be a sovereign country. Instead, the United Nations should conduct a plebiscite in which we should choose to join either Nigeria or the Republic of Cameroon. Now, these were the two questions in the plebiscite. Let's not go back to what Foncha and Indele argued and so on. These were the two questions. Were to make a plebiscite in which you choose, do you want independence by joining the Federation of Nigeria, or do you want to be independent by joining this? But we note here, the questions were about independence. Resolution 1608 is on the result, the United Nations formalizing the result of that plebiscite. There were separate plebiscites in the southern Cameroon and another separate one in the northern Cameroons. They too voted the same similar question to join this or to join that. Well, as I said earlier, Foncha, it was forced down his throat. He did not want this matter of joining this or joining this. He asked for a third question.
Independence.
Independence.
Was
Not
denied.
only Foncha. The party of Chivnyenti in Manyu division, the party of PM Kale, the speaker of the Southern Cameroon House of Chief, he had a party too called Cook. These two parties petitioned separately to the United Nations to say that no, if this plebiscite is about independence for Southern Cameroons, then there should be a third question. There should be a third question. It is, I mean, the people should be given the full range.
Yes.
And these petitions were discussed in the Trusteeship Council. And the Trusteeship Council said the third question in the plebiscite for Northern Cameroon and Southern Cameroon, correct. Correct. If it is about independence, we should put an option there for independence. Do you want to join Nigeria, or do you want to join this, or do you want to be independent? The Trusteeship Council said their petition is right, and they should have a third question. The representative of the British is on record. This is history. You can do it online. You can search it online and you'll find it. The representative of the British government in the United Nations, I've just forgotten his name, but he said no. No.
Okay. All right. You answered that question, Pat. That's what I was heading to. But then coming back to
no. So we're forced now to go to a plebiscite to join this and this. Not because Foncha wanted two questions ruling out independence. No. Even Foncha's last letter before his death, in his last letter, a letter to the British government on that question of the third, he says that he is surprised at the end of his life to discover that it was the British that had pulled out, that brush aside the desire of the people to have a third choice in the plebiscite. Foncha wrote that.
Thank you, Pa. We are running a little bit out of time, but before we get to our next section, Pa, could you just briefly tackle the question that I posed to you, to these numerous compatriots who are out there, president this or whatever, and I just find that really discouraging, that we are like hunters in the bush. We have not settled, we have not caught the catch, but we are already struggling to divide the catch, while the catch is we are taking our eyes off the prize. So, Pa, if you could really address them I think your words are wisdom, the words of a grandfather to we are your children, and we are the ones who are taking the baton. You are passing the baton over to us, and you want that this baton should get through right to Boya.
Thank you for bringing that, raising that issue. Um, that is cardinal to if we are going to go anywhere with our struggle. It is cardinal that we speak with one voice. It's cardinal that we make effort. We make the effort, or we find the formula of working with a joint front. Um, in all our languages, we have different proverbs like a bundle of broom, one bundle is stronger than the single sticks that are in it. We have it in different languages, vernacular.
Mm-hmm.
A bundle of spear is stronger than the single spear.
Yes, bro.
We have that kind of proverb.
One hand
There
cannot
is,
tie a bundle.
yeah, one hand cannot tie a bundle. That's another one in different languages. I did earlier talk about the right to hold individual opinion. This is not the point. The point here is that if you are united, it's just the opposite of how many countries have been, I mean, what they have done to us. When you divide and rule, you weaken the parts.
Mm-hmm.
When people keep struggling, this group struggling against this struggling, I am the leader, this struggling, at least when we gain our independence, when we establish our state, when we drive out the invaders, and there will be room for everybody. There will be, or there should be, room for everybody. Um, the nightmare which we are dreaming, walking like in a dream sleep towards, we've seen it elsewhere, that there are examples where the people fought for independence and got it and plunged their territory, their country, into civil unrest
Start killing
instead
themselves.
of instead of organizing the society, developing and working towards a prosperous country. They keep fighting each other, killing each other. Yes. The killing of people now, the world knows it. The international community knows that it's a fight. It's a genocide. Some decide as genocide rightly, but it will be a disaster if we achieve the independence in this scattered way in which we are.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, it is the problem that we have now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the independence will come. I am hopeful. I am hopeful, and it will come faster if we were more united. If we
Mm-hmm.
cannot unite and come up with one way of speaking, one way of defining things, strategies, and so on, we can at least agree on certain areas which we should work together. We can do that. It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible with thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think that while our men and compatriots in the war front are fighting, we encourage them and wish them, we tell them to go on. It's a war which we cannot, it's a war of life or death. We commend them, their courage to fight. That war we are in, we did not start it, we did not declare war on the Republic. We are defending, and it is a war that is justified. So we thank and praise our fighters on the field, and outside, those leaders of various groups must find a way or a formula by which we must continue this struggle. There must be a way. And the way is not hidden. The way is for us to sit and discuss. Okay, you can go on with your own group. You can go on with your own group. But when it comes to this, let us work together. Let us work together. The ideal is there. We should work towards the ideal that we should be one. We should we should fight as one. Uh, I don't know how to put it. And another thing that the leaders and the groups outside should know that one thing that Biya has failed in this war is that he has defined it as secession. He has defined us as terrorists. But the international community has not bought the other idea. That's the first step by which we have won. The international community has rejected La République de Cameroon's idea that the country, one part was seceding, and they were terrorists, and so on. So they know, at least the United Nations, the international community knows that we are fighting a justified war, that we did not start the war. And that so far is good. So the leaders should work to support our fighters at home. They should be bold in this. Uh, we are we outside, apart from fighting to unite, we're not fighting. Apart from organizing ourselves towards unity, we should do everything possible to to help the fighters at home. Um, this is important. I think that's the role they can play outside, which will make the fight at home. Well, they started with catapults. They now have K-47. This is the role we should be doing. But um, I want to say that there are also obstacles, not obstacles, there are things that have risen in the struggle that both the fighters on the ground and the leaders should keep an eye on. Um, uh, the matter of about two or three things. The first is that the fight on the ground is complicated by state terrorism, what I would call state terrorism. That is, there is another army apart from the Southern Cameroon fighters and the official fighters of the La République who are fighting. There is another group, and I think we have enough circumstantial evidence that Minister Atanganji ought to be investigated for promoting state terrorism in Southern Cameroon. It should be investigated. We have enough circumstantial evidence for that. There are soldiers who can call them Atanganji's army because they come without uniform, they do all the atrocities and blame the Amba fighters. They are the ones doing it, or tell the people that they are destroying and doing havoc to, that they should report that it was Amba that did it. That is one complication that has come. But they will be investigated. They will be investigated. And we are suggesting that spotlight should be put on Atanganji, on this other force that is neither the force of we know stories of people that have been done havoc to and say they should say that it was Amba that did it. Okay, that is one. Then another thing that has complicated the thing is real criminals who are neither the soldiers of La République acting as terrorists, or the real criminals who just take advantage and form themselves as a group and go out and threaten people because there is general insecurity and do criminal things. Um, so we should find a formula of handling this. The way to handle this, well, it is not everything about military. I am a trained soldier. I was trained in La République before I joined the civil service. And I know certain things about military things which I cannot voice on a program like this.
Yeah.
But people on the ground should be aware of what is happening. The international community who don't understand this keep on saying both sides and the atrocities done by both sides. No, there is what we can call state terrorism going on. They may be trained soldiers, but they don't wear uniform. They go around doing atrocities and putting it in the name of our fighters.
And mostly this aspect of ransom, they have used that as a means to terrorize our people, to extort them for money, which is
yes. They arrest our people and go and put them and ask for £1,000,000 francs. When you give them money, they release you.
But we are really winding down to our final episode. I think at this time we may take a 1 or 2 minutes break again, and when we come back, we will talk about SCAPO and efforts to resolve the conflict, and also a way forward. So
okay, no problem. Thank you.
Hail this land of glory, we the Amazonians, special loyalty. Praises to our Savior who granted us the freedom. Allegiance to the hero who brought the land we gather.
Glory will rise and never to fall. Hearing a nation flowing with milk and honey. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Amazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our needs. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God be the watchman